Hey, look at this. It's an Amiga 3000 with a video toaster. So a guy contacted me and dropped this off because apparently it's not working. It has some acid damage from the internal battery. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to fix the main motherboard of the Amiga 3000, and then we'll put it back together and try the video toaster, won't we, bud? This battery leaked and we have some very obvious acid damage. There's a big SIP, single inline package over here, right next to the 31 kilohertz video output port. So it's possible the acid damaged more than what we can see, and that's causing the video not to work. So my plan is, I'm going to take this apart and then repair the board first, and then try to boot it from the floppy drive up. Hopefully it works. Then we can reassemble it and see if it will, also work with the video toaster. Let's get this Amiga out onto a tray. Nice! Although it's probably going to be quite tight. Yeah, okay. It's probably never been removed. And these kind of look like standard 8-bit and 16-bit ISA slots, but what's all this over here? Commodore A300 daughter board. Oh man, this is a really large motherboard. It goes all the way back. That's probably the RAM back there. It's kind of an unusual format. Don't worry, I won't stick a paper clip in it. These are gonna be SCSI drives. Small computer serial interface. Although I'm sure some people will better hurry up and fix this, or Babylon 5 is gonna go off the air. What a massive motherboard! Super DMAC. That's probably direct memory access controller. I mean, one of the killer things about Commodore, the C64, and the Amiga was that they designed and manufactured their own silicon. Of course, the Amiga was designed outside of Commodore, and then they were purchased by Commodore. And that's what gave it a huge advantage. They just had really good chips. It looks like there's a lot of, I would guess this is SIP RAM. I wonder if we could boost that up. I wonder how much that would cost. There's some other sort of expansion port in the front there. There's the heart of the beast, the Motorola 68030. So that's going to be a 68000, just the higher spec. I think this one ran at 16 megahertz. There's more corrosion there. What are those? Those look like RAM chips right there. I wonder if this is some sort of like output frame buffer or something. So the Amiga was designed by this team, including Jay Miner, who also worked on the original Atari 800, kind of a legend in the industry. So the thing that was really cool about it, it had some really awesome blitter capabilities, DMA, it could move memory around. I mean, this thing smoked the Atari ST, which was its contemporary, and the Macintosh, even though those systems were more successful. This thing was kind of expensive, all this custom silicon, compared to the Atari ST, which was pretty generic. The question is, did the acid damage the traces? That's the real question. Or is it just, basically causing resistance issues, which is degrading the signal? All right, I should have it so it can come out. Now we can see if there's... Oh, it doesn't look like much seep to the bottom at all. The acid, I mean. That's a good sign. Let's get that old battery out of there first. Doesn't look like it was too difficult. I guess we'll find out when we pry it up. All right, you crispy critter. Time to come out of the oven. There we go. Looks like it's like a stack of cells. iCads don't last forever. Old school, rechargeable. Yeah, I wonder what we can replace this with. I'm sure there's things out there. All right, let's take a look at this damage. Let's get this damage out onto a tray. Nice. PP21 bus. All right, let's try some rubbing alcohol for starters. Yeah, there might be some sort of magic acid remover. This will work. Dentist be like, I wish you brushed your teeth that well. That's what you're for, Mr. Dentist. Wait, did that eat the copper as well? Let's see. Yeah, see? Oh, I believe it did. Beep, 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 beep. And this would be here, there. Oh, no, there's still copper. It's just incredibly discolored. Well, actually, no. I think what happened was the solder mask. The solder mask was burned away. Since this is ground zero, I'm gonna remove almost all of these chips and put them back in, but I'm gonna remove these two first and just, this will be like our worst possible case here, whatever's underneath these. I mean, that happens with all old solder, It still works internally, but externally it might not necessarily beep out. That's one of the reasons I reflow it. I mean, this is obviously going to be a lead-based board. So it doesn't take a ton of... Yeah, see that one right there? It's not wanting to... Well, the oxidation / acid layer is preventing... my heat from transferring into it. Okay, it's gonna reflow these just enough to get them freshened up. That way it ensures that the heat will transfer correctly from my desoldering iron. Why do I have this sudden urge to talk about the New York real estate market? Oh man, that was kind of difficult to remove. I wasn't sure that I was getting a good suction through the hole, so I actually just heated it up with a bunch of solder and then slowly pried the chip out. I hope I don't have to do that for every chip. This is just a NOT gate, so that's a common part. We don't have to worry about that being destroyed. Yeah, that is a little worrying how much effort it takes to get the solder to stick. Something of this age shouldn't be that resistive to it, but again, it's got corrosion. So I was driving my bike around New York and I noticed there were these signs everywhere. $58 million for a building. I had to admit, I like to watch Louis Rossmann, but I was following him, when he's like, oh, I'm gonna get a new shop, right? And this is like, I don't know, a year or two ago. And he's like, my current tenant is gonna kick us out and blow up the building or something by 2024, right? And he's like, I better get out now. But I was thinking, like, by 2024, there'll probably be, well, this was, of course, before the pandemic. I was thinking, there'll probably be, just statistically, there should be another recession before 2024. So if you don't have to move before then, maybe you should wait. I don't know if he regrets it or not. Although, sure, he had plenty of work. That's the thing, people are like, oh, Louis Rossmann should move somewhere else, but New York is probably the only place, large city in America, where you have both incredibly high Mac usage and foot traffic. Because you go someplace like Los Angeles, where they probably also all use Macs, but nobody walks there. Everybody drives. Maybe Austin? Same thing, though. Yeah, I hope it works out. New York, it's a great place to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there. Unless I was super rich and could afford it. That was like one of Hercules' labors to remove that one. Yeah, it probably just looks like a big shiny mess on camera. It looks like the rings around the vias are intact. They are smaller rings than usual, which also works against us when desoldering because there's less surface area to receive the heat. Ugh, what a mess. Let me tell you how I feel about right to repair. Let's say you own a business and you have 5 employees. Those 5 employees all work and live in the city of Manhattan. Now what happens if you take those 5 employees and now you only have 4 employees? Well then, one of your employees you've had to let go. And that's why I fight for right to repair. Louis Rossmann is William Shatner in Louis Rossmann Group, the movie. No! I won't repair your Mac. Tim Cook! I'm going to leave you as you left me. buried alive in a tomb of dead laptops. Wasn't I promising or threatening to give my dissertation on why I didn't think Terminator Dark Fate worked? Maybe I should do that now during this really boring repair. And everyone's like, oh no, not again. Is he gonna talk about Joseph Campbell and Hero's Journey? Yes. Let me begin this discussion by saying, so they made that Terminator Dark Fate movie, and it was supposed to be like a true sequel to Terminator 2, but it was really more of a reboot, which is really what they should have just done. Just make a cheap reboot slasher flick of Terminator. Maybe have like the Blumhouse company do it or whatever. Because really, if you think about it, the first Terminator was really Halloween with robots. It really was. So anyway, but then so they're like, okay, well, nobody cared about Terminator Genesis because it was terrible. So let's make an unofficial, or this is the real Terminator 3. Even though I like Terminator 3, I thought it was pretty well done. And then they're like, okay, and it's like, let's have basically mostly a female-led cast, which is fine. But it seems like, they're like, oh, well, women really like the Terminator action franchise. Okay, why? Let's not think about that. Let's just, cast mostly women. Like, there's a John Connor character is basically a female now, and then the Protector's a female, and then Sarah Connor's back, and of course Arnold's back. But then just watching it, it's like, I don't think they understood, or maybe James Cameron forgot, or maybe it was a complete accident, why women like the original first Terminator movie in the first place. Now I might be saying, oh, Ben, you're a guy. What do you know? And like, well, yeah, but there's some things that you can recognize. I mean, like, I don't really like Dirty Dancing as a movie. I mean, it's all right, but I know why women like it, because it's like a coming-of-age daddy's little girl movie. All right, so the first Terminator. You've got Sarah Connor, right? And she's like just normal college woman. She's got a crappy job. She's got a roommate. She's going to go out on a date, but she gets stood up. And, and you just kind of see her, living her normal life. And they do that with Dark Fate as well. You've got a woman whose name is Danny. I'm sure giving her a masculine name was not an accident. But she works at a car plant in Mexico. And then her brother gets fired because he gets replaced with automation. That's a nice touch. But they do kind of do the same thing. Like, oh, here's this average person, right? Like this every man or every woman. But then, in the original Terminator, Kyle Reese comes back in time, right? And he's like, I have to find Sarah Connor and protect her, right? But the way it's set up, I mean, I don't know, because I don't remember the marketing, but, I was alive, but it's like, Sarah Connor's walking around 1980s Los Angeles, which wasn't exactly a safe place. And there's this man stalking her, and it's Kyle Reese, right? So that's something, that's like a slasher flick, right? And that's something that women can identify with. It's like, oh, men, sometimes men can be bad. And this man is, just like Halloween, like there's this weird guy looking at me from behind a bush, right? It's like, this makes me feel uneasy, I feel like I could become a victim. And then it turns out that the guy that seems like a creep, he's actually the protector, right? And then this other guy, he's actually, the person who's trying to kill her, Terminator. And so, okay, well, I'm going to go with this guy, and he's going to protect me, right? And, well, obviously I don't need to, reiterate the plot of the movie to you, but yeah, basically you have an every woman, and there's like a miracle, right? Like the miracle is that this person comes from the future, right? And he's a broken bad boy from the future, and using love and her femininity, she restores his humanity, because Kyle Reese had become cold and distant, like the machines that he fought. And then in the second movie, Terminator 2, the same thing happens to Sarah Connor's character, right? So then, they have like the love scene, and, it's actually very justified because she's restoring his humanity. And then if you think about it, if you go even further, then she becomes impregnated, and she has John Connor as the son. So John Connor, in a way, is like, it's like a miracle birth or magical birth or an immaculate conception, like a gift from the gods. And if you think about it, John Connor, JC, Jesus Christ. Again, accident? Probably not. So you have this thing where, Sarah Connor may not be the future leader, but she's carrying the future leader in her womb. And it doesn't matter what sex the future leader is, but only a woman could carry a future leader, a deliverer, like Jesus or John Connor. The woman has a special ability to do that, to carry the child. And then you see, like, especially like with the Catholic religion, they really are big on Mother Mary as well. Same kind of thing. So that's, that, I don't know if it was intentional. It probably was. That's one of the reasons why Sarah Connor works so well, is because she has parallels. She's both, she's a very feminine character, and she's a strong character, but she starts out weak, and then she learns to be tough, and there are parallels to religion, which, most people in the West are familiar with. All right, so I think when the last thing I was talking about, because it was like 4 days ago in my time, last thing I was talking about was why women like the first Terminator movie, right? Basically, yeah, you've got a very normal, average woman, average life, also average looking, It's not like it was like Barbara Bach or something, So, women could identify with her. That's why, Katherine Heigl never made it as like a rom-com star, because she's like too glamorous. It's got to be more like a Meg Ryan, because the lead character needs to be a blank slate into which women or men can project themselves. Anyway, but then you get to Dark Fate, right? And it's like, oh, okay, so, and again, I thought Dark Fate was fine. The beginning of it's good. It gets dumb, like in the third act, where it's just a bunch of CGI punching. Linda Hamilton's really good in it. Mackenzie Davis is really good. She's always good. The young woman who's like the new John Connor, she's not good. But it's like, there's a part in the movie, so it's like, Mackenzie Davis comes back in time to protect this young woman, and then Linda Hamilton also shows up because she's been hunting Terminators, because apparently Skynet just sent back a ton of Terminators, one of which like kills John Connor in the opening scene. And I guess it's like Avengers Endgame logic, where time travel creates new realities or something. I don't know. See, I think time travel should be like Back to the Future, right? Like if you screw up your parents' meeting, you disappear, right? Simple. So you've got, Mackenzie Davis from the future, but she's like an augmented human, which is, that's less interesting than like a fragile Kyle Reese covered with scars. And, there's no love angle, right? There's not like, an immaculate, magical love angle. Really none of that. But the thing that really stood out to me in that movie, because at first you're supposed to think, oh, this young woman, she's going to give birth to the savior of mankind, right? But the twist is, no, she's not the mother of the future. She is the future leader. But who cares? It doesn't matter what the gender of the future leader is. The thing that's special is that only a woman can be the mother of the future leader, right? Like something like Mother Mary, like in religion, it's a uniquely feminine position, being able to carry a child. And you see, there's a line to that there's a line about that in like part 2 where she's talking to the scientist. She's like, you don't know how to build things. You don't know what it's like to have something grow inside your body. All you do is build death, right? But then you get to Terminator Dark Fate, and Sarah Connor's like, before we realize that the Danny girl is not the mother of the future, she is the future, Sarah Connor says to her, you're nothing. You're just a womb. And it's like, what? I mean, it goes against, I guess that's postmodern filmmaking, that goes against millennia of storytelling, like the sacred feminine, like the miracle of fertility. Like, you know, like a woman's ability to bear children is like the most important thing in society, right? And Terminator Dark Fate, they're like, nah, it's not important. It just goes against everything the first movie kind of stood for. And then the same character says it too. It's like, oh, you know, teaching John to be strong. And well, yeah, you see that. Like, I wanted to meet Sarah Connor, the woman who taught John to be a leader and to be strong. And Sarah Connor was important. She wasn't just a womb. But then in Dark Fate, Sarah Connor says, you're just a womb. It's so stupid. It shows that even with James Cameron involvement, who wrote the first one, even though, again, the first movie is really just Halloween with robots, they kind of completely miss what's special about the Terminator franchise in terms of femininity and the sacred feminine. They just throw it all away. Like, you're just a womb. That's a fundamental misunderstanding of just, you know, women in general, I think. And that's why nobody cares, right? So I have a younger sister. Her name is Carrie, because I guess my mom is a closeted hippie. Oh, she definitely is. Anyway, I'm using vinegar now. So my sister would have been 13 when Terminator 2 came out, back in 1991. And of course, actually no, my sister was the one who bought the VHS, right? And we watched it all the time. Now, we watched a lot of movies together. Like, I think we wore out Romancing the Stone tape back in the 80s. But anyway, I'll just say this. Maybe some of these filmmakers should have had a 13-year-old sister in 1991, because there were pictures of a character from Terminator 2 all over my sister's bedroom, but it sure as heck wasn't Linda Hamilton. I can't remember the last time I watched Terminator 2. It was a couple years ago. But I'm the guy who likes the first Terminator better, because the second one's really just a remake of... Oh, solder. Second one's really just a remake, but like the father-son stuff, like, I appreciate that more as I get older, kind of like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Because, again, you had the theme of, in the first Terminator movie, Kyle Reese had lost his humanity, right? He'd become like a machine. And Sarah Connor helped him regain that. Then you have Terminator Dark Fate, where Mackenzie Davis is turned into a part machine, and there's nothing about her recovering, there's nothing about her changing. It has no effect on her character arc, right? So again, Sarah Connor uses love, sex, femininity to restore John Connor's humanity. Then in the second movie, it's Sarah Connor who's become like a machine. Same thing, she's like a machine, and then she goes to shoot that one guy, the inventor guy, and then she realizes that she's become a Terminator. So, yeah, so they kind of parallel it. That, but really, I mean, that, and then once you had that, you basically were exhausted with story. Although I do kind of like Terminator 3. It's, you know, it's cheesy, but it's short, and it's pretty much to the point. It's like, get to the bunker. That's the whole point of the movie. Yeah, so I don't know. I think it's, I see stuff like that, and I'm like, they're trying to make a movie that appeals to women by just casting women without actually thinking about what sort of things women like. A big thing that women react to well in movies is movies in which the situations faced by the characters are something that women can relate to either now or in history, right? You know, it's kind of like, it goes back to like hero's journey and the human condition. Everyone understands birth, we understand motherhood, we understand death. So when movies, you know, have those themes in them, they react or they resonate with us because it's the human condition we can understand. We all can understand, you know, being sick as a child or crying in the night and like, Mom, I'm sick, or Ripley, help me. It resonates with us because it's all part of our shared collective history. There's more oxidation on the top, and I think it was made worse by the acid. So I've got to break through that to reflow the top contacts as well, but I'll do the best that I can. Something else I liked about Terminator 3, I'm probably losing a lot of credibility for saying that I like it, but there was actually a story purpose to the T-800 looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Because remember, it's a T-800 Model 101, right? So the T-800 would be the endoskeleton, and the model number would be the skin or whatever. And so in that movie, you find out that the particular T-800 that's sent back in time to help them get through Armageddon actually kills John Connor in the future. He's like, I was selected because of your boyhood fondness of my particular model. So it's like, oh, he looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger, not some random bodybuilder. Because remember, in the first Terminator, there was a Terminator that did not look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. So they send in the nostalgia Terminator, basically, and it tricks John Connor, and it's able to terminate him in the future. That makes sense. And then they capture it, reprogram it, and send it back in time. That makes sense, right? So they actually worked that into the story, which none of the other sequels do. And the Terminator, as played in Terminator 3, he's kind of callous and uncaring, right? And it's also the only, they don't do the cuddly, you know, father figure thing. Because obviously John Connor is an adult, and that's not as relevant. I don't know what this SIP is over here. I suppose I could look it up. I don't think there's any circuitry inside of it. Probably just a large resistor array, I would hope. But the pins are pretty gross, so even though I reballed them on the bottom, I'm going to clean them up and reball them on the top too. Because you've got your video out right here, so I think this is the danger zone. All right, I cleaned everything up, reballed most of it, put in a new NOT gate and flip-flop. I think it should load on this monitor, 15 kilohertz. All right, don't blow up. No input signal. Recommended setting 1024 by what? That's weird. Thanks to Daniel with Keysight, I was sent a new scope to try. This is the DSO X1204G. It's a 200 megahertz scope. This should be more than fast enough to probe this old computer. I'm going to start with the VGA port right there. Well, that's doing something. Can I reach the CPU from here? Oh, what's this? Random chip. Yep, there's more data. The guy who brought this over said that it was it displayed or made the sounds that it was booting up, you know. That's a RAM chip over in the video area. I'm assuming it's a RAM chip. Yeah, it's definitely being accessed. 5 volt logic levels. But if I go to the VGA plug, let's see, 1, 2, 3 is red, green, blue, and if you look really carefully on the VGA plug, you can see. Okay, so there's red, green, blue, and interesting. Only one of the sync signals is doing anything. That's okay. So 14 is V-sync, and 13 is H-sync. I'm seeing a logic level high, but there should be low pulses. And this is kind of hard to do one-handed. If only I was Doc Ock. Also, I tried flipping that switch. Oh, come on, give me the signal. Give me the signal. Yeah, flipping that interlace switch turns it off. That's kind of weird. Alright, let's zoom out. It's kind of hard to hold this. Yeah, there's no low pulses on it. Okay. So something is definitely wrong with the video generation. I'm going to probe the 15 kilohertz port and see if I get anything on that. Or, I'm sorry, there's 4 chips here. What I would assume is probably RAM. I could look it up. I was probing pin, well, whatever the last pin is on it, which would normally be power, except for there appears to be signal. Anyways, only showing signal on every other chip. So, like, this one and this one don't show signal, but this one and this one do. Yeah, there's 4 of these chips. So I could click on pin, well, I don't know what pin that is. The first chip has nothing. That same pin on the next chip has activity. Next chip, no activity. Next chip, activity. Yeah, these are coming up as field frame line memory. However, so, you know, fields, that's the interlacing and a video signal. However, if it's outputting just a progressive signal, you'd only have 1 field. Maybe that's why 2 of them are disabled. It just seems weird, though. So I tried flipping this switch, and it didn't seem to make any difference. There's still 2 that appear inactive. If I rake the probe across that big SIP, single inline package, I'm not really seeing anything. Looks like there's digital and analog on this. Pins 11 and 12 are H-Sync and V-Sync. The 15 kilohertz plug, I mean. Let's see if we can find some of those signals. 3, 4, 5. Okay, 1, 2, 3. There's a red signal. Green, blue. That's 5. Okay. Oh yeah, it makes sense that digital signals would be higher because VGA analog voltages are only like, I don't know, a volt or so, just like composite video. Let's see, blah, 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 blah. Oh, there's a composite sync. Interesting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, that's probably the image of, you know, the hand putting the disc in. See, there's the analog video of it, and there's the digital RGB version of it. I'm going to probe underneath the VGA port just to make sure it's not the port itself. Composite sync has the vertical sync and the I think it's over there. Let's see if we can grab that. Yeah, see how it inverts the sync. So that's composite sync, which is kind of, well, exactly what they use on composite video, where the horizontal sync and the vertical sync are on the same signal. So yeah, this would definitely drive a composite video display, but the question is, why isn't VGA working? As Jar Jar would say, something smells stink-a-whiff under this chip. You said guy's going to die? Oh yeah, there's definitely some gross crap under that chip. This pad here is also suspect. Let's see if I can cut through the, yeah. I mean, it's got conductivity, but most of the via has been rotted away, so what I could probably do is just scrape a little bit of this off and then put a little tiny wire there to make sure it touches the pin. These vias were also bad, so what I did was I scraped away the solder mask here over the traces, then I put a thin piece of wire and soldered it to the trace, and then I put it through the via so there'll be some conductivity. This one's a little marginal, but I think it should be all right, but if not, we can just manually jump it after the fact. And then I'll just make sure, the only other connection on the top here is this one. I already checked that one. I fixed all the damage. I'm still not seeing a valid sync signal. The thing I find kind of suspect, this flip-flop, like nothing is flip-flopping it. This NOT gate is being pulsed at the frequency of 3.581 megahertz, which is pretty much the NTSC color burst signal. Yeah, I'm probing the amber, and like these pins here are showing signals. 10, 11, 12, when we go to 13, which would be an output signal, specifically N restor L, whatever that means. Basically signals that are supposed to be coming out of the amber, we're getting nothing. So it's like the amber chip isn't doing anything.